Hello, my name is Ribbolt Rob, and I'm the host of Ribbolt 808A, and today I will talk about climate denial. I'll play some Fallout, and I found an article about 15-minute cities. I'm playing Fallout Shelter, and we'll see from there. I did make a new logo for the stream, um, encompassing environmental soup, social bread, and that I have a frog. That's where Ribbolt comes in. Let's see. I will go to news. Transition. Okay, so the first article that I am looking at is called Climate Misinformation is Exploding and Canadian Politicians Are Spreading It by Michelle Sisa. In the Norwell newspaper, and this is an opinion article. It says the majority of Canadians believe in human-caused climate change. There's a growing number of evidence that climate change is caused by humans, and there's a lot of science behind that. So it makes sense that the majority of Canadians believe in climate change. And then it says conservative politicians are fomenting weariness and skepticism about climate science to appeal to their bases and undermine their opponents. And then it says it might be working. So this is concerning because climate change has been shown to be real and happening. We can look at the ice core samples, coral reefs, temperature records have gone back far enough that we can determine patterns in changes in temperature, precipitation over long periods of time. I know it takes at least 30 years for anything climate related to be studied, for any patterns to be determined, and to prove that it is climate change. Let's see. John Wested, who called global warming due to carbon emissions a lie, and said that climate change was part of an agenda to reduce the world's population. Won 44 seats in the British Columbia legislature. And then 58% of British Columbians were convinced human activity was responsible for climate change, which is lower than residents of Ontario, Quebec, and the Atlantic region. Which is interesting because they've often experienced some of the worst impacts from climate change. I'm just going to make sure my sound is up. So that suggests that we can't rely on. I mean, if there is a big weather event, it's not, and the weather events keep getting more and more extreme. People are going to be in denial about that. Let's see, is anyone watching? Oh, and if you're watching, I just see only one person watching right now. But feel free to make comments in the chat, in the Twitch chat. And Canadians who believe humans are more responsible for climate change declined by 9% from the previous year. And then the NDP took Pierre Poilievre's position to axe the carbon tax. That didn't help. And then Daniel Smith attributed wildfires to arson rather than climate change, which is problematic because it doesn't address the issue of climate change, what's causing the increased forest fires, and the oil fire season. There's the 15-minute city and urban planning strategy that focuses on walkable neighborhoods and incidentally decreasing driving-related emissions. And then there's been outcry about that. And then there was like myths about like being forced to eat bugs. No one's being forced to eat insects, but that spreads like a myth and further delegitimizes climate action, any type of climate action. And then the opinion article says that it's convenient shorthand. Rejecting climate change policies is convenient shorthand for championing individual rights while offloading the government's responsibility for addressing carbon emissions by framing climate change as either a natural, benign phenomenon or leftist plot. So we end up taking no action, which will impact millions and billions of people. Everyone will be impacted by the negative impacts of climate change, just in different ways. More so people in poverty and low income. Those COVID. Yeah, I can see how COVID increased conspiracy theories. And then conspiracy theories have increased, and then they've been replaced by climate denial. Climate denial is always there, but if you're going to I guess it's easier if you already don't trust science to delegitimize COVID. It's easier to delegitimize climate science. So I can see that leap happening for a lot of people. And that's a dangerous game. I mean, it's dangerous when that happens because it means all evidence is, even if there is evidence and strong evidence, there's still going to be a lot of misinformation and and then there's fact checking is labor intensive and it's difficult to scale, and commenting can contribute to the viral information spreading, misinformation spreading. Unfortunately, that is how social media sites are designed. As soon as you click something, you see more and more things of that. Like I know TikTok, Facebook, they're all designed. Once you click something, then you see more of it. Researchers call this the illusionary truth effect. Repeated exposure to a claim makes it seem more convincing. So that's why politicians say the same lines over and over again. That makes sense. And then hyper-individualized information stream and own bubbles. Like, people don't interact. And someone was saying this, that guzzled and Anatoly Guzzled, a professor at Toronto Metropolitan University and director at research at its social media lab. And they said, and what's the most engaging content? It's controversial content. It's polarizing content. Let's see. Yep, so I definitely see that. And then there's less news from the Meta ban on Meta's ban on Canadian news, and then only like 1 in 4 Canadians is aware that there is a news ban, but more than half said that they get news from the platforms, so people getting less news. And then the solution offered is less time online. And then resisting online conspiracies might be in the real world. There was this climate emergency unit pointed out that the nuance and complexity can't flourish online. And online, it's especially easy to dehumanize seeming opponents by trying to win an argument. So that's that article. and then I'll switch. So this is the second article. It should show up. Okay. Social media is a growing vehicle for climate misinformation in the National Observer by Kylie Price. I do try to use different different newspapers. So there's a report by the non-profit Global Witness and found that climate misinformation and disinformation spread unchecked on TikTok during COP29 in usual videos. And then they said that platforms like X, Facebook, and even LinkedIn have emerged as efficient vehicles to spread this type of inaccurate rhetoric as quickly as climate-fueled wildfires. There is apparently policies in place, and they comb through videos in English about COP29 and found 20 comments that outright denied the existence of climate change. And then it says that after Elon Musk bought Twitter, those reinstated accounts that have been banned for spreading disinformation about climate and other topics. Yeah, and it's not good on Twitter, which is now called X. And then, as a consequence, climate denial has proliferated on that platform. And it's really just a few individuals. And the Daily Wire, Breitbart, and Climate Depot. And then in 2017 to 2019, the most heavily retweeted post includes one by Trump that questioned climate change due to unusually cold weather in the US. I will point out that weather and climate are not the same. Like, weather is in that moment, and climate is a period over at least 30 years, if not more. Here, like, after hurricanes Helen and Milton, there was more people claiming the government created the hurricanes using weather machines, which don't exist. And then, who said this? There's a quote. James Marshall Shepard, a former NASA weather scientist, who is the director of University of Georgia's Atmospheric Science Program, said, in the past, the harassment was over a fringe element. And in this last episode, it was a bit more mainstream. And then, and then it says climate-related disinformation tends to spike following extreme weather events or disasters. That is surprising to me, actually. I would have thought that would have been the opposite. But I guess, like, when those even less news, then it becomes an issue. And then oftentimes environmental disinformation campaigns have been linked to industries that could benefit from this type of chaos. Yeah, so that makes sense. The industries that are against expanding that are against climate action would like the chaos. And then there's an example. There's a conservative think tanks and fossil fuel interest groups that are funding whale activism efforts to combat offshore wind, despite lack of evidence that turbines are directly causing animal mortalities. And then the main risk is during construction, including when boats could hit the whales or noise could handle communications. But it's also distracting from pressing threats to whale survival, the warming waters, disruption of food systems, and pushing animals closer to human activities like fishing and shipping. Environmentalists are calling on social media companies to better moderate climate mis and disinformation on their platforms. And then there's debunking tools and educational campaigns. So that's that article. And let's see, check the time. I'll check this fault as well. So power up. So I'll go to the next article. This article is called Trump's Win Was Fueled by Climate Misinformation. Will Canada be next? Let's see. And it's in the Global Mail by Jessica Scott Reed. And then, yeah, it's saying, I'll repeat that 60% of Canadians believe climate change is a fact and that mainly caused by human activities. And only 8% of Canadians claim climate change is a theory that has not been proven. This is interesting. In the US, 51% of Americans dismissed climate change as a hoax in 2011. By 2023, that number dropped to 39%. Okay, so look, political leanings are added. People that lean more left are more likely to accept human-caused climate change than those who lean right. And then there's a group, Climate Action Against Disinformation, looked at websites and social media accounts with tenant media, including Canadians Lauren Chen and Lauren Seldon, and found that between September 2023 and September 2024, and this is from the article, the Russian-backed influencers had more than 16 million combined followers and subscribers, made 183 total posts, and gained more than 23 million views, and more than 1 million shares and liked. And then they mocked climate activists and opposed disruptive lifestyle, disruptive in quotes, lifestyle changes like eating meat and replacing gas stoves with electric. Then, further down, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre vows to dismantle Justin Trudeau's climate and energy policies. a strategy increasingly at odds with global push towards clean or renewable energy. And then I can probably make a separate video about how the current policies by Justin Trudeau are inadequate. But I'll save that for a separate video. Let's see. And then there's an additional article. This one is called Debunking the 15-Minute City Conspiracy Theory and Why It Erupted at Essex County Council. And it's on CBC by Katrina Georgieva. And then it says, what are 15-minute cities? The article says the 15-minute city concept at its core is an urban planning framework intended to set up communities in such a way that they would have access to all their needs within 15-minute walk or bike ride from their homes. And then there's a heading, what's the conspiracy theory linked to 15-minute cities? And then it says it's like they're thinking it's like a government takeover, and people fearful of digital identifications. And then the Canadian Institute of Planners issued a statement to say that scrutiny and misunderstanding of the 15-minute city objectives has resulted in alarming instances of hostile behavior and threats towards planners and the public servants. And then the county of Essex has a plan that was approved, official plan that's required by Ontario law in 2014, but it needs to be updated according to the Ontario's Planning Act, and there was a requirement for public input. There was no mention of the 15-minute city, but it still led to huge crowds. And then it's important to engage. And then there's Celestini said it's important to engage with people who are expressing certain fears in order to be able to address those concerns rather than attempting to silence people's fears. End quote. We're not having conversations, which is problematic because when we don't, they just become far more ingrained in the communities and, become more isolated from other communities, and that creates an us versus them boundary, which is very hard to cross. So that's the last article that I have. Let's see. Do I have a go to video? Yeah, so that's the last article that I have for today. And I plan on having a new video look at different articles tomorrow. But I think four articles is good in one day. So I'll focus on the game. Let's see. I don't have might have to go to make a new screen. Games. Don't transition to games. Okay, and I'm just making a new transition screen, so it'll be an image. 3 miles. Okay, so I think I changed. Okay, so fault. Let's see, fault.